Hello, I'm Jester, and I'm not recording on a toaster anymore. Today's site review, we will be reviewing Battlezone Edinburgh. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes of all of this, I'd like to just say that everything that I say is by observation and my own opinion based on that observation. I would encourage you to go along to the site and form your own opinion, but this is just so you have an idea what it's like there. Battlezone Edinburgh is owned by BZ Paintball along with BZ Tactical. They are based south of Queensferry, and I played there at the start of October and only once. So some of the things that I have to say after this, it could be a fluke of the day and not a consistent thing throughout the year. When we're talking about facilities, it's more what you have at the safe zone than what's on the map. Battlezone Edinburgh has a fair-sized car park that's right by the safe zone. The safe zone has covered areas with an open spot in the middle, which made things a bit cold on an October morning, but in summer could be absolutely amazing. The shop is essentially a storage shed with the ability to pay. There's nothing wrong with this in essence. Some people want things to be flashy, some people want things to be simple. But there didn't seem to be an effort to display what they have in terms of BBs and pyros. And I'm not even sure whether they were selling riffs there or not. This ultimately leads to someone holding up a potential queue by asking, do you have this or do you have that? When actually, when you're at the back of the queue, you can look up at the shelves and see what they have displayed. And you can just walk up and be like, can I have 0.25 Rebel BBs, for example? At this shop, you can also buy hot dogs, and you don't need to pre-order them in the morning. Actually, at lunchtime, you can just walk up and ask for a hot dog. They also sell snacks and drinks at that stand as well, but the same thing applies. You don't know what they have until you go up and ask them, what do you have? Now, the whole display thing, it doesn't matter as much when it's actually fairly quiet and you can just walk up and you're the first person there. However, if it's a busy day, I can only imagine that you'll have a lot of people just holding each other up by asking this. Battlezone Edinburgh has a flushing toilet, although I think the plumbing came from a water tank on top of the toilets, but that's absolutely fine. And they were reasonably kept. I went in there at the start of the day and they were clean and well maintained. Although with through traffic, they do get the same standard as a lot of other sites will have. Now, I wasn't sure whether to put this in facilities or how it plays. When I went to Battlezone Edinburgh, I had Smushy come along with me. I usually go to loads of other sites with someone else. I'm never usually alone. Now, Smushy was using a rental, one of their rental riffs. And these riffs were either really outdated or not well maintained. I can't decide which because I can't figure out what the riff is. But they were essentially HPA tank riffs with the tank attached directly onto the pistol grip, which made things a bit unwieldy when shouldering it. Smushy's not the size of a child, but I can only imagine that some teenagers might have a problem with shouldering it for extended periods of time, considering some other points after this. Now, when I say that they're not well maintained or they're really old, is when we went out onto the site, onto the maps, there would be as many backup riffs as there are rentals out there. By the end of the day, you could hear O-rings failing, a sort of distinct hissing coming from the tanks. And I think if Battlezone Edinburgh, considering their links with BZ Tactical, it's kind of disappointing that they don't have at least a robust AEG. instead of what they have currently. I'm not talking about something hugely expensive, but something that could actually last a day 9 times out of 10 without failing. For these reasons, I'm going to give the facilities a 2.5, middle of the road. It's not bad, it's not hugely bad, but it needs a lot of work in order to get up to a full 3, even a 4 or a 5. And I think Battlezone Edinburgh is in the place to do this, considering their links with BZ Paintball and BZ Tactical. When we talk about maps in terms of how they play, building them, things need to make sense. And you shouldn't put anything onto a map or a field that doesn't make sense or is next to useless. So this map is quite long and narrow with 2 enclave maps just kind of out on their own. So with the main map, you have trains, barrels, tires, it has a castle, but we'll start from the bottom and work our way along. From the train through the barrels and tires makes sense. It's fairly standard setup for most sites that I've been to, outdoor sites that being said. Everything had its natural progression. You could tell where you could take cover, where the next set of cover was, and how to move forward. As well as some nice little hidey holes that if someone managed to push past you, you could get them. But when we get onto the castle is where things start getting a little weird. On the bottom floor, it essentially has more window than wall. The windowsill sits about thigh height, which makes things a little awkward for taking cover because there's no wall for you to effectively hide behind. And you're not just crouching, but you're crouching hunched in order to take cover, to effectively get back up again to return fire. The top floor has a really low outside wall, about waist height, and the inside safety railing is around about the same height, which when you're a child is fine, but with a 6-foot adult, 6'1" in my case, is a little concerning for safety, considering wet conditions, things can get slippy. But safety aside, which it shouldn't be aside, there's no effective way for the castle to provide cover, aside from you sitting on your ass, which makes it kind of useless as a castle. The village is a map that is completely separate from the others. It looks to be, at first glance, a bog standard village setup that I've seen so far in person and in social media. It's basically a set of sheds, some in this case without roofs, that you can fight in and around. Though looking closer to some of the buildings, you find some really odd angles that are way too specific and essentially make the building unusable. Case in point on screen. This is why things need to have a purpose on the map. That building is essentially useful for only one thing and is going to be very rare that it's ever used for what it's meant to be. Now, to hide a spawn area, maybe, but that's not even where the spawn area is. At least for the games that I was in. The Hillfort map seems very specialist and not something that can be used in a range of game types. While the cover is good, it seems to be very one-sided. The defenders have the advantage of being uphill and having more cover. Considering I could actually snipe attackers leaving their spawn area with my G&G RK74E, is I don't even have a sniper, and I was consistently hitting the attackers as they were leaving their spawn area. Another point, and this isn't something against Battlezone Edinburgh, but please, please, please wear proper footwear and not trainers, flip-flops or slippers or something stupid like that. The ground at airsoft sites can be a quagmire, sometimes swampy, and you might as well throw your shoes into the mud because you'll lose it anyway. Get yourself a pair of decent boots, or if you're really tight on budget and you can't afford much, wellies is better than trainers. You can grab a pair of wellies for 10 to 20 quid off the top of my head. So a little quirk with Battlezone Edinburgh that I haven't experienced yet is once you're in the game area, you can come in for breaks individually, but they would continue with the games. Now, I'm not too sure how I feel about this because, yes, people take their time getting out, and a couple of the maps are awkwardly placed away from the safe zone, but arguably not the furthest I've seen. I know some people are just out to have their game day, but I do go along to airsoft sites for the social aspect. I go to see friends, make friends, meet new people, have a laugh. So I'm not a huge fan of just always staying out. Not to mention, I wear a dye. I can't just casually take it off while keeping my iPro on. Another thing that I thought was a bit weird was when they decided the teams. Now, every other site that I've been to, they roughly split them half and half at the start, and then they pay attention to who's playing really well, who's not playing as well, and try and split the rentals evenly as possible. And you'll see multiple people switch teams throughout the day. Battlezone Edinburgh decided to play a game of zombies to decide the teams, and the first half of people to go out would be on one team and the second half would be on the other. It didn't affect much in terms of the quality of the teams that day, but I can see that becoming so one-sided, and it comes across as a bit lazy or not thought through as much. It would be more balanced if every other person to go out would be on separate teams, but it came across as weird and a weird way of doing things compared to other sites that I've been to. Because of all of this, I'm going to give Battlezone Edinburgh 2.5 out of 5. I think there needs to be more care and attention to how things are laid out in order for this to all work. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but in some cases, I don't think there was enough thought put into making these maps. When it comes to vibes, it's what I'm here for. I come to have a bit of banter, have a laugh, meet new people to have a laugh with, and just get on and have a giggle instead of being so stoic. The day punters didn't seem to be regulars at all. There were probably a couple, but the majority of them seemed to be coming from other sites. That being said, the players seem to be frustratingly deadpan. I get that people come to have their games, shoot BBs, then leave, but it seemed like there was little room for banter that I have experienced elsewhere, like the Depot or Area 66. And especially Bunker. Now, if I was alone, I could have said that the issue was me, but I was with Smushy and she felt the same way about it. The marshals seem to be a good crack, though considering they're trying to run a game day, they can't carry that mood. They can't force it and they can't have a laugh with everybody because they need to be sure that everyone's being safe. And the head marshal, the site manager, was absolutely amazing, very friendly, had a lot of time for you, and we had a good chat after about some of the points that I had to say. But I don't get this super anti banter feel that people had that day. I'm not too sure whether people were just having a bad day or they were hungover or that it was just not the day to have a laugh. And don't get me wrong, I tried having a laugh with people and it just didn't seem to land. It didn't seem to connect. Normally when I go along, the first couple of hours seem to be deadpan and I'm fine with that because people don't know me. The only time where I go in and it's off the start line is at Bunker. But for this reason, I'm going to give the vibe a 2 out of 5. It didn't seem that fluid of an atmosphere where people could have a laugh and joke with each other. Now, as I said at the start, this is all my opinion, and this could very well have just been a very bad day to be at Battlezone Edinburgh. I don't give anybody any warning that I'm going along. Sometimes people are just a bit off. on certain days. I've had it at bunker. Sometimes I'm off. But as I said, go along, have your opinion. And I hope to see, go along to Battlezone Edinburgh maybe next year and see things have changed a bit and actually people are having a laugh with each other. Until then, that's my penny's worth of opinion in there. And I hope to see you again and out in the field. That's it for today, but before we leave, I'd like to thank you for watching the entire video, and I'd like to thank my patrons Ellis, Beanman, Yaron, Daniel, and Smushy. Your support is also supporting my caffeine addiction. Bye!